Welcome, friend. Tonight I have a tale for you. One of shadows and whispers, of secrets buried in the walls of an old and forgotten place. As you listen, let the low hum of the night surround you, the way the silence once enveloped Blackwood Manor. Blackwood Manor stood at the edge of the town, wrapped in a blanket of fog that seemed alive. No one dared to venture too close. Well, except for Clara. She was curious, too curious perhaps. The kind of curiosity that leads people into places where shadows linger longer than they should. It was a chilly autumn evening when she found herself standing at the manor's iron gates, its twisted bars cold to the touch. They groaned as they swung open, as though reluctant to let her in. Clara hesitated only for a moment, then stepped onto the cobblestone path leading to the house. The air was heavy, thick with a silence that seemed to breathe. The manor loomed, its windows like empty eyes staring down at her. A single lantern flickered on the porch, casting long, wavering shadows across the wooden door. Inside, the air was colder. Clara could see her breath in front of her, little puffs of mist that quickly vanished. The entry hall was vast, with high ceilings and walls covered in faded wallpaper. A grand staircase curled upward into the dark, its wooden banister polished to a sheen that seemed unnatural in a place so abandoned. And then she heard it, a faint whisper. Not a voice she recognized, but it sounded familiar, like someone calling her name. Clara, it seemed to say, soft and stretching like a breeze through the cracks. She followed the sound, her footsteps muffled by the dust-laden carpet. The whispers grew louder, guiding her to a room at the end of a narrow hallway. Its door creaked open, revealing what appeared to be a library. The walls were lined with shelves of books, their spines cracked and titles faded. On a pedestal in the center of the room rested a single book. It was unlike the others. Its cover was jet black, adorned with a silver emblem of a key. Clara felt drawn to it, as though her hands moved of their own accord. The moment she touched it, the whispers stopped. Instead, a low, guttural hum filled the room, vibrating through the floorboards. The lanterns on the walls flickered and dimmed until the room was bathed in shadow. Clara flipped open the book, its pages brittle and yellowed. Inside, she saw words written in a language she didn't recognize. But as she stared, the letters seemed to shift, rearranging themselves into something she could read. To those who open this dome, beware. Blackwood's echoes will follow you home. Before she could process the words, the whispering returned, louder this time, all around her. The voices weren't calling her name anymore. They were laughing, crying, screaming. Shadows danced on the walls, stretching into impossible shapes. And then, out of the corner of her eye, she saw movement. A figure stood at the far end of the library. Its silhouette was tall and gaunt, its face hidden beneath a veil of black. It didn't move toward her, but seemed to drift closer, as though carried by the shadows themselves. Clara stumbled backward, clutching the book. The figure raised an arm, and suddenly, every lantern in the manor flared bright, illuminating the room in harsh, flickering light. Without thinking, Clara ran. The whispers chased her, echoing through the halls, each step louder than the last. She didn't dare look back as she fled down the staircase and toward the front door. It wouldn't open. She pulled and pulled, her hands trembling, but it was stuck fast. And then, a voice, clearer than before, and right behind her whispered, "You shouldn't have come here." Clara turned, and the shadowy figure stood at the foot of the staircase, its head tilted as if studying her. Its veil shifted slightly, revealing a pale, featureless face. No eyes, no mouth, just smooth, cold nothingness. In a panic, Clara remembered the book. She threw it to the ground, and the moment it left her hands, the whispers stopped. The door creaked open, just enough for her to squeeze through. She ran without looking back, the heavy air of the manor replaced by the crisp, biting wind of the night. Clara never spoke of Blackwood Manor after that night, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed her home. Late at night, she would hear faint whispers in the corners of her room. Shadows would flicker in the edges of her vision, and sometimes, when the house was quiet, she would feel a presence standing just behind her, watching. After Clara escapes Blackwood Manor, she feels a strange tingling on her palm. Under the moonlight, she sees it, a faint, glowing mark in the shape of the key emblem from the book. It pulses softly, as if alive. No amount of scrubbing or covering makes it fade. The mark seems harmless at first, but then Clara begins to notice strange things. When she enters rooms, doors creak shut behind her without a breeze. Shadows stretch unnaturally long, twisting like dark fingers. And the whispers, they return at night, circling her room, growing louder when she tries to sleep. One night, in desperation, Clara attempts to cover the mark with a glove. As soon as the fabric touches her skin, the glove disintegrates into ash. The mark is a tether, a reminder. Blackwood isn't done with her. Determined to rid herself of the mark, Clara returns to Blackwood Manor, this time during daylight. The once imposing house now appears lifeless, as if holding its breath. The whispers are absent, replaced by a heavy, foreboding silence. She retraces her steps to the library, but something is different. The walls seem closer, the air heavier. As Clara searches, she notices a door she hadn't seen before. A plain, wooden door at the far end of the room. It doesn't belong. Even in her growing fear, she feels an inexplicable pull. She pushes the door open and steps into a narrow hallway, lined with mirrors. Each one reflects not her current self, but distorted images. Clara in the past, her fears, her regrets. The end of the hallway reveals a room bathed in dim red light, with a lone figure seated in the center, shrouded in shadow. The figure speaks, its voice layered with dozens of whispers all at once. "You've touched what isn't yours." The figure identifies itself as the Keeper, the guardian of Blackwood's secrets. It explains the nature of the book Clara found. It is not just a relic, but a trap. Those who touch it become bound to the manor, their lives entwined with its cursed existence. Clara pleads for release, but the Keeper merely tilts its head. "The mark cannot be erased," it whispers, "but there is a way to shift its burden." The Keeper offers Clara a choice: find another to willingly take the book, or remain tied to the manor forever. The weight of this choice crushes her. Could she condemn someone else to this fate, or would she sacrifice her freedom to contain the darkness? Clara returns to the outside world, the Keeper's offer gnawing at her. She begins seeing people differently, those who seem careless or unkind. Could they deserve such a burden? Her morality battles with her survival instinct. Her nightly whispers grow louder, pressing her to act. The mark begins to burn, glowing brighter as the days pass. Shadows seem to follow her everywhere, their movements more deliberate, their whispers clearer. "Choose. or the manor will choose for you. Unable to resist any longer, Clara devises a plan. She places the book in a busy cafe, hoping someone's curiosity will lead them to it. But when she returns home, the book is waiting for her on her bedside table, its black cover gleaming. Not just anyone will do, the whispers mock. You must choose with intent. Defeated and desperate, Clara returns to the manor one last time, confronting the keeper. She demands another way, refusing to sacrifice another innocent soul. The keeper's whispery voice turns sharp, cutting. You think yourself noble, but nobility won't save you. It offers her a final bargain. Become a keeper herself, joining the cursed guardians of Blackwood Manor. By doing so, she could shield others from its trap, ensuring no one else falls prey. But it comes at a cost, surrendering her humanity, her memories, her very sense of self. Clara hesitates, her heartbeat loud in the oppressive silence. She realizes this is the only way to atone for unleashing the manor's darkness. With a deep breath, she accepts. As the manor consumes her, Clara feels her memories fade. Her name dissolves. Her face becomes a shadow, and her voice joins the chorus of whispers. But now, when the next curious soul enters Blackwood Manor, Clara's whisper will be there. A warning, a guide, a final echo of her sacrifice. So, my dear listener, if you ever find yourself drawn to a place like Blackwood Manor, remember Clara's story. Some whispers are best left unheard, and some doors should never be opened.